They lied to us. You've been lied to, okay? Self-help gurus, productivity coaches, corporate coaches, and popular media. All of them. We live in a hyper-competitive hustle culture where people tell us or tell underperformers to quote-unquote work harder. Now, this looks like piling more into the already brimming plate of responsibilities. They're adding more side hustles, more overtime, more productivity hacks, and by the end of the year, they can't display any progress. It's kind of like running on a track. I've done indoor track field, and sure, you may be running, but you're just running in circles. It's like telling a homeless person, oh, just get rich, or telling a lousy communicator, just articulate yourself next time. Essentially, these self-help gurus and these productivity coaches in the media that we see, they oversimplify complex phenomena in the broader context of human nature and productivity. Now, speaking of productivity, I just learned how to be more productive. It's not what I expected, and to be honest with you, it's damn sure not what I've been doing. Now, if we're gonna be honest with you, I reduced my year's goal to one word: focus. Now, more specifically, hyperfocus. Why? Well, I wanted to be tunnel vision on all my goals. And so what this looked like was in January, I worked 20 hours daily on personal projects and development for 2 straight weeks. 2 straight weeks, thinking that I was being productive, and the truth is, I wasn't. I was being counterproductive. Like many people, I fell into the trap thinking that, because falling into the trap of thinking that you can get as much done a day is efficient. Recently, I realized it's not only about what I complete, but how focused I am when completing the task, aka flow, deep flow. And so, this YouTube I watched, Rian Doris. Now, this man, he is the co-founder of Flow Research Collective. He has completely changed my outlook on productivity and flow. Now, I incorporate a lot of his advice. I noticed a significant increase, not only in my performance, but also in my productivity. Now, here are some of the things that I learned after watching him, and that I use to continuously seize the day effectively. So number one thing, right? So this year I learned it's very important to change your work environment. Now, obviously, that seems very superficial, but I've learned to focus a lot more on this. And one reason why this is good, because it gets rid of monotony. Is what I usually do is I will work behind this computer, where you see my other video. Go check that out if you haven't. But I would work on this computer, and I would also sleep in the same room. And I don't like to sleep and work in the same room. I like to have spaces designated for certain things. And so what I realized is that new ideas spark up when I'm in a quiet, organized environment. I know I'll be focused and I'll do deep work when I'm in a dedicated space. And changing up your work environment will allow you to see a difference. This could be libraries, cafes, a lounge area, any other room in your house. Just find some place that's dedicated, or just switch it up every now and then. If I have multiple places, it definitely helps. Now, the second thing I learned was to set my temporal landmarks. Okay, now, probably like, what is that? So, Rian discusses setting multiple timers throughout the day. Now, he calls these temporal landmarks, and these time markers separate our current selves from our future selves. Okay, so think of like your birthday, or the new year, or Mondays. He recommends setting multiple throughout the day so that each timer acts as a reset. And by setting these temporal landmarks, you create a fresh start. It creates a fresh start effect.
No habit. I would end up staying up late, snoozing the alarm, getting sucked into my phone, the usual stuff. So I asked Joshua, how do I ensure I actually do the domino habit and stick to it relentlessly. Well, Joshua thought about it, and then he reminded me of the research on temporal landmarks. This is research done at the University of Pennsylvania, and they refer to temporal landmarks as dates of significance that are distinct from ordinary days, or that draw a boundary between one era in our lives and another, like the start of a new year, Mondays, or birthdays. Temporal landmarks serve as markers in time that separate our past selves from our future selves.
Like I say, so he calls, so Rian calls this a domino habit. So my domino habit is waking up at 5:30. If I wake up at 5:30, this habit will create a domino effect where I'm more likely to complete a lot more habits. So you need to think of what is like the main habit that you need that sets everything else in place, and then work backwards. Set timers for the day before of how you can complete it. So another thing I also learn a lot to do more is to prepare for the next day the night before. Now, preparation is key. By scheduling the day the night before, I woke up to an agenda already in place. I didn't have to waste any time trying to figure out what I needed to accomplish or what time of day I needed to accomplish a certain task. I built this into a habit, and now I'm on autopilot most of the day. It saves me a lot of time while allowing me to work on a task with a clear head instead of thinking about the next task to complete. So another thing I also do is I set a timer for each task, and so writing weekly newsletters, which is what you're listening to, it's all for the newsletter, is one of my top 3 priorities throughout the day. And I give myself a 2-hour limit, and I don't exceed it. And I stop writing once the timer goes off, even in the middle of a sentence. Now this is key because during the day, I subconsciously brainstorm ways to be more efficient next time, and it'll encourage me to do more with less time. And so the key is to stop on the work when the timer goes off, no matter what. That's the key. You gotta do it no matter what. So don't be capping. You gotta do it no matter what. And so this action will train your brain to optimize efficiency. And the next time you work on a task, try it. Setting a timer also creates urgency. It's similar to when you start on a college essay. And look, all the college grads, if you went to college, look, you're gonna have some days. You probably have some days. You probably have some days right now where you got college essays and you wait on the last minute, you procrastinate a little bit. We all feel into that. And so, have you ever felt like when you have to do a college essay the day of it's due, and you haven't started on it, you have a lot of work to do. You're just in a flow state writing. It's the same thing because setting a timer creates efficiency and it allows you to be more efficient because it creates urgency. And you reach a flow state a lot quicker when you have a time that you have a deadline for completing that task. So the next thing I learned to incorporate was this is probably the most important thing I've learned, or the most impactful thing I've learned. I'll say the best for last. Follow the 1-minute rule. Now, the rule is simple. Starting your highest priority task 1 minute after waking up. Not 30, not 2, but 1. This, for me, looks like writing my newsletters as soon as I wake up. For you, it may be different. When I wake up at 5:30, my alarm goes off. At 5:31, I'm writing my newsletter. I do not waste any time. You have to be the same way. Now, why is it so important? Because this is one of the most underrated pieces of advice I've ever heard in a minute. No pun intended. For productivity, okay? So, why is it so important? So, Rian says that this morning routine, quotes on morning routine, he said that this morning routine works for 2 reasons. So, one is that our cognitive load is low. So, fewer thoughts enter our psyche, which means fewer distractions. And 2, our flow proneness, which is just the tendency to reach flow state, is heightened as soon as we wake up because our brain is close to theta state. And so I take advantage of this by following the 1 rule. I take advantage of my brain having a higher capacity for flow state in the morning by doing the highest priority task in the morning. It doesn't make sense to do the highest priority task later in the day because our productivity diminishes towards the end of the day. We think that our productivity is we think our productivity is linear, but it's not. And my challenge to any of you listening to this, or if you want a newsletter, you got to read this, it is to try one of these suggestions. Just try one for 1 week, okay? Do it for 1 week and decide if it's right for you to implement. Less is more. Do less to do more. Avoid falling into the trap thinking that more input means the same output. It doesn't. Productivity is exponential. And there's a reason why a lot of people, or a lot of creators, are starting to get the idea that there's an affinity for doing less with more. There's a reason why the 4-hour work week is such a phenomenal book and such a bestseller, because it is a novel perspective on how you can really optimize productivity, how you can automate, delegate, and liberate yourself. So the way to liberate yourself is by being able to have more time. You need to do less in the time that you have the work to do. Avoid falling into the trap thinking that more is better, because coming from somebody who literally did 20 hours, I lived 20 hours for 2 weeks straight, it's not. You don't get much done. You really don't. So following this premise of doing less to do more sounds counterintuitive, but it works. Give it a try. With that being said, this is The Art of Flow. Thanks for listening to my daily TED Talk. And I hope you can give me some feedback on how it works for you. That being said, to the next one.